Welcome to Belts, Bumps, and Barbed Wire, a podcast brought to you by DMV Wrestling News at dmwrestlingnews.com. I'm your host, Jeff Quinton, and I'll be interviewing guests from the world of professional wrestling from the Mid-Atlantic region and beyond. Thanks for joining us. Hi, I'm Jeff Quinton, your host, and I'm talking to Bob Evans today about current trends and practices in professional wrestling, as well as his other insights. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Jeff. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. I hope you're doing well, too.
Doing okay on a beautiful late summer day. So the weather is good, and I'm here for a nice conversation.
I'm hoping for a great conversation, too, and the weather is awesome here, too. What inspired you to become a professional wrestler, and how did you get started in the industry?
Well, I grew up as a fan. I didn't really have any fans in the house. I was born in 72, just turned 52 a couple days ago. And so I started getting into it right with the MTV stuff and the War to Settle the Score and the Rock and Wrestling Connection in early 1984, late 83. So started getting into it on that end as a fan. A very cool time to become a fan. A lot of people became a fan back then. And watched it all the way through middle school, through high school, and started doing some backyard wrestling. Actually started producing a public access show showing our backyard wrestling. We actually did it inside, but same idea, amateur, stuff like that for public access. A lot of silly stuff, comedy, some of the stuff you've probably already seen, like that kind of stuff, college kid stuff. And we had a number at the end of our broadcast that said, if you want to wrestle with us, we're just kind of a community thing, like a club. So please call us up and let us know if you want to do it. And a guy named Brian Brieger, who wrestled as Black Scorpion in New Bedford, Massachusetts, hit me up and said, hey, we're a pro wrestling organization, and I'm only about 20 minutes away from you, and you guys seem like you really want to do this, and you have a passion for it, and we'd love to have you. And they were, I would say, that the guys that started training me at it's now Top Rope Promotions, but that's what it, back in the day it was called Yankee Pro. Back then they were, only a little bit ahead of us. They were really only had a few matches themselves, but those guys kind of broke me in, and that was February of 1992, and went with another guy. He went to one class, blew out his knee, and never came back. And I've been there. I've been here ever since, to the point where now I'm actually training at the school part-time, around all my other stuff. And but yeah, that's how I started. And here we are 32 some odd years later.
I'm a couple of years younger than you, and I grew up a fan about the same time then. And I was more of the Crockett end of things down in South Carolina, and also got the rock and wrestling stuff on a national level that filtered in through down there. So it was a really good time.
Yeah, I started following Crockett stuff probably the next year, late 85, probably with Starrcade 85, and then really got into it in 86 and followed it all the way through. So I was a fan of both, and didn't really have a preference. I just liked them both, and I just liked wrestling. And those are the two main ones I watched. I actually, I followed AWA, World Class, and all that, but really it was NWA and WWF for me.
The same way for me too. I know you could get AWA on ESPN sometimes, and then a little bit of everything else that would pop up sometimes, and it's just mainly Crockett and WWF.
Yes.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in your wrestling career, and how did you overcome them?
The biggest challenges are the challenges we all have, just not, self-esteem and not thinking you're good enough, being young and stupid and arrogant and thinking you know it all, and having those same issues where you think you're further ahead than you are.
You've mentored and trained many wrestlers. Can you talk about some of the wrestlers you've worked with and what it means to you to be a mentor?
Sure. Yeah. I've mentored a lot of wrestlers, and still do, actually, and still train, still go over the country, all over North America, hoping to go to Europe next year. It's, as far as like quote unquote names go, Mike Bennett, who's on AEW, Vincent, who's on AEW, Matt Taven, Taylor Hendricks, who was in TNA for a while, Ian Riccaboni, who's in Ring of Honor, announcer, Walker Stewart, who's the New Japan uh, English language announcer who took over from my friend Kevin Kelly, and just a whole bunch of people on the independents, a whole bunch of people on the national level who might not necessarily want their name shared out there, because sometimes it's a middle of the night conversation that says, please, if you don't mind, please help me not quit tonight. And those are the people that usually we can talk them down off the ledge, metaphorically, and kind of help them through. And what it means to me is it's everything. I coaching and mentoring is what I was meant to do. I'm a very good wrestler. I personally don't think I never had the drive or was quite good enough to compete at the highest level on a regular basis. I could certainly go and hang around and have matches with those people and, do enhancement work and things like that. But I don't think I was ever meant to wrestle regularly at that level. I don't know. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. But I found out a long time ago when I was going to work as an extra for WWF and WWE that the schedule just wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to be a married man. I wanted to be a good husband. I wanted to be a parent, good dad. I have 2 good kids, and I just don't know if I would have that same relationship with them if I was on the road all the time. I mean, I'm on the road quite a bit now, not as much as I was, but I'm still on the road probably 20, 25 weekends out of the year. And that's still, it takes a toll. You have to really work hard at it. And, but coaching and mentoring is what I was meant to do. It is my passion, and it keeps me young, keeps me, in the gym. It keeps me energetic. And that's what I think that's what I was meant to do more than, if you ask me if I could grade myself, probably B+ wrestler and an A for a coach. That's how I would grade myself.
Family balance with your professional life is something that I've talked to other wrestlers about. My last episode, I talked to Sean Carlson and asked him where he thought he'd be in 5 years. And he said, "Oh, I have a son who's 5 years old who's not born yet. And he'll have a daughter who's 8 years old. And he's just, all he knows is he's going to be a good dad. And that's the most important thing to him."
Right. And it's, and I've talked to Sean, I've talked to other people about it too. One of the toughest things we have as anybody in entertainment or sports, we happen to be in both. It's that family life balance. Also, when you're not making a lot of money at this, you kind of have to justify going away on the weekends. So that's another thing that isn't always an easy conversation to have, because not only are you taking time away from the family, but it's not like you're coming home with 10 grand to kind of make everybody feel better and pay the mortgage and all that. Sometimes you're just breaking even or losing money. So that's actually one of the reasons I have the WrestleLife.com, which is my learning community. It's one of the reasons I call it that, is because when you start becoming a professional wrestler and you're really into it, it's really tough to separate the two. So you have to put them together, which is why I call it the Wrestle Life. So you have to kind of make it all work. And it's not easy. It hasn't been easy. I've failed at it. I've succeeded at it. I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes. And now I think I've been able to navigate those waters and help plenty of other people navigate those waters. But it is certainly a tricky situation most of the time. So, but we try to help people, minimize their costs, maximize their gains, try to make as much money as they can on the road, try to lose as little money on the road. Cause sometimes it's not about making money. It's about not losing a lot of money. Your wife, your husband may say, "Hey, I don't mind you losing a little bit of money because that's the equivalent of going out with your friends or going on a camping trip or something like that. But you can't lose hundreds of dollars just spending it all and blowing it all your money. So you're going to have to find a way to kind of at least somewhat finance this." So that's what we try to help people do. We try to help people, help people navigate those waters, which are very choppy and very difficult at times.
Do you have a favorite match or opponent that stands out in your career?
Yeah, favorite match is the one where everybody's okay at the end of the day. But I don't know. I mean, I've had some really memorable matches. Some of the Iron Man matches I've had have been great. Some of the I really, a lot of the matches I would talk about would be maybe people you haven't heard of. A guy named Alex Arion, who's from New Hampshire, never really made the big time, but Alex was considered one of the best wrestlers on the East Coast for a long time in the early 2000s into the mid 2000s. Had a lot of injuries, but he lives a happy life. He has a great family and great kids, and is a wonderful guy. So he got out alive, thank goodness. Some of the moments, we've had some great moments in Canada, and really the last I'd say last 8 years, teaming with my tag team partner, Tim Hughes, as Tough Guy Inc. We've had 300 matches together, and I've just enjoyed wrestling with him and kind of becoming a throwback territory tag team that kind of travels around and wrestles different people and has good matches and teaches a lot of people. So it's hard for me to pinpoint one, but I hope that answers your question.
My next question, I was going to ask you if you could share a funny or memorable interaction you've had with a fan, and I want to throw one out that I saw you have with a fan one time.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't you go first?
Okay, last January at AXW when you had the opening match with Tim, and I forgot who you two were wrestling. There was a point in the match where
we wrestled the golden era.
Golden era.
Wet Brett and Brian Morris. Mm-hmm.
You ended up sitting in the front row watching the match with the fans for a few minutes.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's all about experience. We try to do very interactive stuff. I think one of the things that we really can't compete with the big guys, because, we're thinking, you got to think on a minor league sports level. And I don't mean minor league as far as we're not good, because there are plenty of great minor league baseball teams, minor league hockey teams, things like that, arena football. These are all high quality athletes. But if we try to compete and say we're better than them, we're really missing the point, because they can watch WrestleMania for 30 cents because, if it's $10 a month and divide that by 30, that's 33 cents or whatever it is. So why are they going to pay $20 to sit and see you? They're paying for a live experience. They're paying for, oh man, it was so great when the guy yelled at me, or I yelled at him back, or they did this thing, or blah, blah, blah. And, that's what you pay for. So, we try to do as much fan interaction stuff as we can. You want to be safe. You don't want to fight into the crowd, things like that. That's not that kind of interaction. But, you want to give them an experience. You want to give them something to talk about. And especially when we may not have big time headliners, we can headline with the great time they had, and maybe they won't come back right away. They might not come back next month, but you're hoping they come back maybe 2 or 3 times a year. And if we can get enough people that do that, then that's what it's all about. So that's, really when I do my online promoting classes and things like that, I really try to let people know that we want to get wrestlers that provide that fan experience, because that's what it's about. And it's, on this level, if you're trying to compete just on talent, you're going to lose every time, because the most talented people are readily available for pennies on the dollar. So we have to give them something else.
An interaction that my daughter had at that show was where somebody got thrown over the top rope and ended up in the chair right next to her.
There you go. See, everybody was sitting in chairs that day.
She'll remember that. And then the opponent came out and did a few moves on him in the chair and then pulled him back into the ring. So it's something she's always going to remember.
Exactly. And they may not remember your name, but they may, the name of the wrestler, but they'll remember, hey, when that guy did that at that show, that was crazy. And, we should go back there one of these days. So that's in the beginning, that's what you can do. Eventually you might earn a customer and earn a regular fan, but right now it's okay if it's just those guys. You build it up along the way. You get anonymous in the beginning, then they become more familiar with me. And it's like any business you can get customers to know, like, and trust you, you'll be in a much better position.
How do you think the wrestling industry has changed since you started, and where do you see it heading in the future?
Well, I'm one of these people that thinks it's actually on the independent level, it's better. On the national level, I think it's better because most of the time the guys get paid better. The schedule's about half of what it used to be, maybe even 30 or 40% of what it used to be, and the pay is better. I think they get somewhat of a health care. If you get hurt on the job, they pay for it. So there are some, I'm still at that level. It wouldn't hurt my feelings if we kind of got rid of the independent contractor thing. Obviously, I understand that if you're running an independent show 6, 8, 10 times a year, even once a month, you can't have employees, but you could certainly, but that's hiring somebody for a job. But somebody that kind of directs your work and tells you to do your thing all year, that wouldn't hurt my feelings. That being said, it's not really something I'm petitioning for or anything like that, but it's just something that's interesting to look at. But for the most part, it's better. And on the independent level, it's definitely better. There's way more shows. Some people complain about how the quality might not be as good at times. I don't know. I think I think with more people, there's going to be quality control issues and everything. So you just have to, as a promoter, you have to use good talent. You have to use reliable talent, people that are trained. And that doesn't mean they have to be the most highly trained individuals you have, but you need people that can be safe, and we stress safety, things like that. But overall, yeah, I actually think it's better. I know it's busier, that's for sure. The paydays are a little bit better than they used to be. I don't know if it's it's not lucrative yet for sure, but it's something that I think people can do pretty regular on a weekend. I know plenty of people that work between 50 and 75 shows a year, which is a really busy schedule.
And now I just want to move on to promotion and marketing, because that was something that I have a lot of interest in. I have a background in digital marketing for some national nonprofits and for some political organizations.
Very cool.
I just wanted to talk about how you balance things between. First, I want to ask how you balance things between online and offline marketing to the point that everybody can stay in the loop. I know I wanted to give you an example before we talk some more about this of how
Sure.
I've been sitting at a show before. There were video segments that were done the week before the show by the wrestlers.
Right.
Maybe the company put it out there too. But anyway, the fans sitting around me totally did not get it because they had not been online or seen the video, and there'd been no explainer for it or nothing on the screen in the arena to explain it to them. And that's something that I was just wondering about, how to balance that out so that you can make sure that you keep the storyline going from show to show. I know a lot of companies don't even bother with the storyline, and they don't use results. They don't put their results out there to use that to further the storyline either for fans that might not go. Sometimes it's just assumed, oh, you'll get it if you're there. And as far as tickets go, it's like, oh, we got the same number of fans either way last time, and they don't maximize the number of fans they're getting with using the online marketing too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question is I think the answer will be a bit nuanced, because I kind of agree with some of the stuff you said, and I don't necessarily agree with other stuff you said, but that's fine. I'm not angry about it. It's just difference of opinion. I respectfully think that storylines can be valuable if they're basic and can be followed, as far as, so Jeff and Bob are sitting down. I haven't been to the show. You have. Why does this guy not like this guy? Well, last time he and his tag team partner beat him up, and now he's going to wrestle this guy to get revenge. Okay, that's a good storyline. You've explained that to me in 2 sentences, and I can easily understand that. If you're showing me a segment of some online TV thing, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I may not follow it. I may not watch it. So really, I think, and I think when we're marketing to just straight wrestling fans, I think we need to market to a bigger audience. I think we have to get people in the door first and then show them how good we are. Not show them how good we are to hopefully they'll walk through the door. There is a distinction there, because and I think that the reason some of these, places are drawing bigger numbers is because they're appealing to mainstream fans. You can draw at the high school, the high school fundraiser, you can draw 600 or 800 people to do a fundraiser for the wrestling team or the football team or the boosters. You can do that once or twice a year. Now, all you have to do is do that in 6 or 8 different high schools, and you have a full schedule. But if we try to do these very involved storylines where, you have to watch some YouTube clip every single time, most people aren't going to do that. A lot of people, think about how many millions of people watch WWE, and even a lot of them don't follow the storylines every week. I'm a big fan. I have friends on every company, and I don't pay attention that closely. So if somebody jumps somebody and I don't know who somebody is, I may have to ask who that is. Hey, who's that guy and who's this? But really, I think on this level, it's much more about how can we get them through the door, and then let's entertain them. Some of the worst drawing time in minor league baseball is right now. And right now is the playoffs. You'd think the playoffs were the most important thing, right? The playoffs are the biggest storyline in minor league baseball if you're a minor league baseball player. But they're not the biggest storyline for the fans, because it's back to school and they have too much other stuff to worry about. They may go to a game and not even realize that it's the Governor's Cup or whatever the minor league AAA World Series thing is. They may not even know what that is. They just know there's a ball game today. So I think storylines are valuable. I teach a booking class, so I'm all about having good booking and stuff that makes sense. I obviously teach a promoting class, same thing. But I think we have to keep it simple, not necessarily babyish, but we have to keep it simple because people aren't always going to show up. And you have to be able to kind of walk in and meet people where they are. If you're going to educate people when they're in the room, you have to meet them where they are. In case you missed it, this is what happened. And it has to be fairly simple. When they do recaps of TV shows, last time on The Rookie or last time on, whatever, whatever the drama of the week is, NCIS, they'll show about a 20 or 30-second clip, and that'll catch you up on everything. Now, if you have no idea who any of these people are, it's going to be harder, but you might still get the gist. So I think that you can put out cool videos, cool stuff like that, but you better push it like crazy, and you better educate people as to who these people are, because if you don't, then it's just going to be a bunch of people playing wrestler.
And that gets to figuring out what platforms are the best for you and to utilizing those platforms. And I've seen a lot of cases where people have a platform that they haven't used in 5 or 6 years, but they're still in all their promotional material. And in some cases with wrestlers, you'll see 2 or 3 different accounts on one platform where you can tell that they stopped using it for a while and they forgot their passwords. And that's the one lesson that I think needs to be taken for everybody, for wrestlers and for promotions, is to put your passwords down in a spreadsheet somewhere or down in a notebook somewhere and hang on to them. Especially, I've seen one company within the last couple of years where they had to recreate all their accounts after there was a sale of the company. And I've gone through a transition at a company where I was new and things were getting changed, and I was trying to track down passwords. So I know what that's like to go through that pain. So just one thing people need to do is keep your passwords updated and keep them written down.
Right. And I think, that's a really good lesson. But even when you went to AXW, I mean, those guys were struggling just because, and not because they weren't trying, because they didn't have, they were too busy. They were inside the fishbowl, and they needed an outside perspective. So when Kevin and Kelly and I came in, we said, you have all this real estate here. You have this big building. Why don't let's do some $5 bleacher seats. Let's give a few tickets out to people who have never heard of us. Let's spread the word. Let's get people in the building and get them excited about wrestling again. Then they'll go out and spread the word, and you won't have to worry about giving away as many tickets. And they went from 175, 200 paid to, I mean, that first show we had in January, we had 750 in the building. We never did under 450, 500 when I was there. And then when I left, we just kind of parted ways. We're all still friends, but just doing different things. Those guys still draw 350, 400 people. Almost 2 years later, they're still doing double the crowd they used to do, because I think they realized they had to focus on experience and live, going to the matches and having a great live experience than worrying about this guy's mad at this guy and we're going to do a bunch of videos and we're going to do a bunch of social media stuff. The social media stuff is great, but really it should be come to the show, come to see the 7 big matches. And by the way, these guys are going to beat each other up because they don't like each other, but come to the show because the show's awesome. And even if you don't know these guys, the show's fun. You'll have a great time, bring the kids, that kind of a thing. So I think they've done a great job of, reframing their viewpoint. And I know they've become much more profitable. And, it's been a great case study, and they've, actually, one of the guys just hit me up a little while ago, thanking me for all the help and everything. And we hadn't talked in a while, so he caught me up on everything. And the numbers are still strong, so it's a good thing. Again, on this level, I'll repeat it again. Digital marketing is great. I'm a huge digital marketing guy. Get your email list going. Get your social media strong. Write those. Make sure you got those passwords. Make sure you got what you need, and use every platform you can. I mean, obviously some will be better than others. But the offline stuff is just as important, Jeff. I mean, you should be out shaking hands, talking to every business in town. Have you heard of us? Have you ever come to the matches? Oh, my son's a wrestling fan, but I've never been. Well, here's a couple of tickets, spread the wealth a little bit. Give out a few tickets, get people through the door, have them check you out, give away free samples. It works for Costco. It works for Netflix. It works for Disney Plus. It works for everybody, We're gonna have you come and check it out, and then they'll spread the word and post great things. We had a great time at the matches. They're not going to worry about saying anything about free tickets. again, people aren't checking to see how much they paid for tickets next to each other. They don't, those conversations just don't exist. So I just think we have to do different things to get people. It should always be about getting people through the door and getting numbers. Promote your face off until your numbers get big, and then keep promoting. I think a lot of times we get into this bubble where we want to be creative. And I'm like, creative with stories. And this guy's going to do this great vignette that takes us 8 hours to edit. And that's all wonderful. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying get yourself to the point where you're selling tickets and becoming profitable. And then I'll let you play on the creativity side a little bit more. Have creativity as far as what creative promotional thing are we going to do to get people through the door? Are we going to give away a poster? Are we going to give away a t-shirt? Are we going to have VIP seats? Are we going to do something cool at Halloween that gets a lot of people through the door? Again, these are the things that pay you. And as we all know, revenue is the oxygen of a small business, and we're running a small business. Even if we're having fun, even if we're just doing it once a month with our buddies, we still want to run it somewhat like a business. We don't have to wear suits and ties, and we don't have to have a giant corporate structure, but we should have some structure that organizes us so we have not only the outlet and the fun, but we actually make a couple of bucks at the end of the night. Isn't it easier to put a little bit more effort in better places and come home with a car payment rather than having to lose money? And that's all I'm telling people. And that's what we do it on the online classes and stuff we do.
I know my daughter really didn't want to go to a show last October until I told her there was a Halloween costume contest.
There you go. Perfect example.
That was at MATW down in Fairfax.
Yeah, that tells you everything you need to know. Who cares who was wrestling on the show? You could have had Stone Cold Steve Austin on the show. She wouldn't have cared. But once you told her that the Halloween costume was happening, all right, yeah, that'll be fun. Let's go.
I've really watched them grow over the past couple of years too, as I've been going to MATW shows and in Fairfax and looking at some of their other shows that were going on. So just really been impressed with how they've grown.
Oh yeah, MATW is PQ and all those good people over there. Yeah, I mean that I've he's an old friend of mine. I've helped him out. I've helped them out a lot too. We've exchanged a lot of good ideas. He's a guy who's been in wrestling for a long time, but also wasn't afraid to hear good ideas. And I've worked very closely with a lot of his promotional people. One of the ladies actually took my promoter class. We'll be doing it again soon, ramping it up. And keep looking out for that at prowrestlingclass.com. But it's one of those things where, man, a lot of people just don't help out with, parsing out this information, and it's great information to have. And once you have it, use it, because there's a lot of great ideas out there, but you have to seek it. That's why we try to make it easy for people, run these organized classes where we meet once a week or whatnot. And, that's how we do it. But yeah, I mean, they're growing. They have a great busy schedule in the fall. And you'll probably see me down there once in a while.
I heard you were going to be there this fall, and then I missed you the one time you were there before, so because I generally just get to the Fairfax shows.
Yep, yeah, I'm probably going to be at the TV in Yorktown, and then Fairfax. I've already talked to his promoter about that, and obviously she wants me to be there because I helped her out a lot, and it's schedule, it's everything. My kids are teenagers, and they have a bunch of different projects going on, and dance and drama class and all that. So, not drama like, drama like the dramatic arts, not drama like problems, So, but it's always a fun time. I love helping out my friends. I love helping out anybody, So, that's, but yeah, Stephanie is one of the people that works for PQ that's taken the class and gotten a lot of benefit out of it. So, always happy to help.
I agree with you about offline promotion. And one question about when you're doing the balance versus offline versus online that I think I see going on, but I'm not inside completely, so I don't really know for sure. I've seen a situation in some organizations when I worked in nonprofits and in politics where people wanted to have the online piece and do everything online without spending any money and think they were just checking that box of having online. And this was in the early 2010s. So
it's some things never change. People want to, and you've always heard spend money to make money, but I don't mean just throw stupid money out there. I could come up with a good advertising budget that would probably be like $200, but it would probably get you $1,000 in profit through the door. I mean, you have to spend money, a little bit of money, just to get things going. And you might have to throw, it may not be about necessarily paying somebody to go do posters and stuff, but it may be a thing where, hey, we're all going to go postering on Saturday for 3 hours from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's, by the way, that's a little free hint for you. That's actually one of the best times to go promote because most of the businesses are open on Saturday for at least half a day, and you can get a lot done, and it's about half as busy in town as it usually is. So you can get a lot of stuff done, and then you go for pizza or sandwiches or Subway or whatever, and you buy everybody lunch. I mean, it's you can get a lot done in 3 hours. You can get a lot done in 3 hours. You can poster you can poster 2 towns in 3 hours if you do it right. And also, it shouldn't just be throwing up a poster and saying thank you and walking out the door. It should be, have you heard of us? Have you, obviously if they're busy, you leave them alone. But if they have a few seconds, you go, hey, have you heard of us? Do you know there's wrestling in town? And you'll be surprised at some of the responses you get. Oh, I've lived here for 35 years. I had somebody years ago, I won't name who it is, but I was at the town hall. We had been running the building for 2 years, and they were in the town hall next to us, next door. And the guy said, I've worked here for 10 years. I've never even heard of wrestling being here. And I said, we're here every month. He's like, I've never heard of it, which means we're not doing our job, because it should be, hey, that wrestling that comes around around town. Like if you're in town hall, you hear all the gossip. So we're obviously not putting the word out, and that was, God, that was mid 2000s. That was a long time ago, but still, it just tells you everything you need to know. And I wasn't the promoter at that one, but that was one of the reasons why I was disappointed, because we're working hard. We're doing everything we can on our end as wrestlers, as talent, but sometimes we can only do so much. I can put up a promo. I can, share a poster, and all that stuff is very valuable. Please do that, wrestlers and anybody on the show. But the promoter has to hold up their end too. Plus, if a promoter works really hard to promote the show, it'll inspire the talent and everybody working for them to promote even harder, because they'll feel like they have to now. They feel like they'll be held to a higher standard. So yeah, and again, it's we all should be kind of working together. I'm not saying it's all kumbaya and hold hands around the campfire, but you do have to have some sort of cooperation to make everything grow. And that's the idea.
So do you think a small spend of micro-targeting online, considering we're talking about smaller companies, could be a draw to get people through the door?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But don't just do it. Don't just boost one of your posters, because your poster may not be the most effective thing. Dummy down your poster, come up with something a little more cleaner and simpler. We don't need 432 people on the poster. Do, live wrestling, fun for the family, a great experience, that kind of stuff. And you can put either your most attractive people on it that are going to be on the show, or a nice action scene of somebody press slamming someone, or a drop kick off the top rope, or something spectacular. And, check that out, or, join our email list and get 2 free tickets. That's always a popular one too. Want free tickets? We're here every month. Let people know that you're around. Let people know that you exist. And let people know that you're not going anywhere, because a lot of these places come across as fly by night. And the first time you offer that, even if they get hammered with a Facebook ad, that doesn't mean they're going to do it, because they still may not trust it or know it. So spread the wealth a little bit, get the word out, and then try to do some charitable works, try to do some public relations stuff, try to do some public service, go out and read to the kids or do an assembly at school, and not necessarily even expecting anything in return, but start getting the word out that, we're good with families, we're good with children. If you ever see a minor league baseball team, they'll do 10 nonprofit or charitable things a year. They'll donate to silent auctions. They'll do tons of stuff that you don't even know about, that'll just get the word get the word out. And if you don't know where to start as a promoter, start looking up minor league baseball teams and just study their page and see what they're doing. See what they're doing more than you. And it's not, a lot of it isn't even paid. A lot of it isn't paid at all. It's a lot of just publicity that gets them in the newspaper, gets them on the news. They're at a ribbon cutting for something and the mascot is there, that kind of stuff. I mean, you might not have a mascot, but you can certainly figure out ways. Once you start getting the wheels turning on this, I know there's a lot of very creative, smart people out there that'll come up with 10 great ideas, but you kind of got to give them permission, Jeff. It's kind of like one of those things where you're like, yeah, go do it. It's okay. Go do your thing. Go be creative. Go help somebody. Stop asking for business when you're not offering any service yet.
And I know I go to more minor league games than major league games, so I totally get what you're saying on that.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I don't, and that, but that what you, but a lot of wrestling promoters will go there and they'll argue with me for. We could sit at the whole game for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and they'd argue with me that wrestling and baseball aren't the same business. And I said, this is what's hurt us for 30 years because I heard it for years until I kind of convinced a lot of people not to say it anymore. Oh, you got to understand, pro wrestling is different from every other business. No, it isn't. WWE is proving that right now. Once WWE just started promoting themselves like every other big sports business, they're now a big sports business. You don't hear people talk about how goofy WWE is anymore. It has a ton more respect. Um, people talk about Cody Rhodes. He's a household name. Roman Reigns is a household name. Obviously, John Cena and those guys. These people you can hit their music at a ball game and almost everybody sings along with it. They all know it. These guys are mainstream sports celebrities now, and they've done that because they marketed them a lot more like UFC and the NFL than they did like WWE.
Fanatics Fest is a big example of that, of where all the WWE talent there sold out and sold more tickets for autographs and photo ops than any of the regular sports people.
And everybody cried about the price, right? Everybody said how expensive it was. Everybody said, "Oh, I'll never pay this much money for an autograph and this and that." And guess what? They sold out. So obviously there's a market there for it.
One quick plug for somebody who I've just seen remotely from what I've seen. I've only seen them wrestle a little bit at a joint show, WrestleMania week. Was Three Legacies is really doing a lot of community outreach and involvement from what I've seen.
Oh yeah. No, they've done a lot of stuff and their crowds reflect it. They do a nice crowd every time. And again, follow these models, follow these people that are doing successful things. So don't sit there and fight with a promotion that's drawn 100 people and you're drawing 90. Don't fight with them. Go find the ones that are drawing 500 or 600 and do what they do. My guess is they're not messing with whoever's down the street. You want to be a leader. You don't want to be a follower. And you also don't want to punch down and argue with people. You're just wasting time, because you're scared to get bigger and you're scared to do more stuff. I know that's why for a long time, I didn't get bigger because I was scared to succeed. It's not a fear. It's not a fear of failure. It's a failure. It's a fear. What happens if we get bigger? What happens? And it's not as fun anymore. That's a lot of the nervousness,
We're really going to have you on again sometime. I know We've been on a little bit longer than what we were expecting, but just before we close it out, could you mention first what events you have coming up and where you're going to be, and then mention your social media and other online platforms people can find you at?
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to talk about, for anybody who's interested, I have a Ring Psychology 101 class coming up. Go to prowrestlingclass.com. It's going to be a 2-hour class with me, September 22nd or September 29th. You only have to take it once. It's the same class. We're just going to do it twice due to demand. Not only do you get the 2-hour class, but you get 3 bonuses, and the bonuses are worth more than the class, in my opinion. You get a 20-minute call with me. You can ask me anything you want. It can be like this, Jeff, if you just ask me questions, or you can ask me something specific about career guidance. We can watch one of your matches. So that's the first bonus. The second bonus is a double your bookings in 90 days class. If you do all the stuff in this class, it's about 65 minutes long. If you do it, I show you how to network the right way. I show you how to leave a great impression, positive impression, something where you will definitely stand out in the crowd. Even if you don't wrestle, it almost guarantees that you'll wrestle next time if you do it. And then the third one is 30 days on the wrestlelife.com. We've talked about that a lot today. It's the biggest pro wrestling learning center in the world, and give you 30 days for free on that. So check it out, prowrestlingclass.com, September 22nd or September 29th. As far as stuff coming up, this weekend, as this is being recorded, September 7th at the Monster Factory in Paulsboro, New Jersey, 1 to 4 seminar. Then I'll be wrestling with Tim Hughes, tagging up at night. Then September 14th, the aforementioned MATW, I'll be in Yorktown, Virginia, wrestling for them on their TV taping. I'll also be there in October as well. Rumors of a TV title tournament. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've definitely thrown my hat in the ring on that one. And then probably going to be at Top Rope Promotions. They haven't announced their October date yet, but we'll be there in Fall River. And then social media is at Brutal Bob Evans on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Threads. And then if you want to hit me up on YouTube, it's Real Brutal Bob Evans. So I think that's everything.
Thanks again for being on the show today. If you have any closing thoughts, you could throw those out there right now as well.
Closing thoughts are just, if I can help you in any way, please contact me through any of the social media. I'm more of a Facebook guy than anything else. And Jeff, it's been a pleasure, and I look forward to talking to you again sometime.
Look forward to it. It's been a great conversation. It flew by.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks again for joining us on Belts, Bumps, and Barbed Wire. Please join us for our next great episode wherever you get your podcasts. Now for our credits. The host is Jeff Quinton. That's me. Production assistant is Josie Quinton. Producer is Scott English. If you'll please check out dmvwrestlingnews.com every day to get the latest pro wrestling news from the Mid-Atlantic region and beyond, we'd appreciate it. Thanks again.